the Illustrator Classroom in a Book. I can't remember if we've actually gotten to the step where that we've grouped this scarf together. So I know we've saved a selection, but let's make sure that this actually looks like a scarf so we don't have all of these gaps in between. So we're going to, with the selection tool, select the whole scarf. Then we're going to select this leftmost shape, and it's got this thick blue stroke around it, so we know that that's the key object. We're going to go to Align up here, and excuse me, you are going to make sure that under distribute spacing it's 0 points, and you are going to horizontal distribute spacing, and there we are, we have our scarf ready to go. We're going to click off and our scarf is ready to go. Now we're jumping ahead to page 71, where in this section we're going to look at grouping objects, and all of these little parts are considered objects. So you can combine objects into a group so that the objects are treated as a single unit. And that's really important when you start getting into more complex details. A really good example for me is just the eye. So let's say you wanted to make an eye and you wanted to, you're going to go very carefully, you're going to manipulate it and really make it look like an eye and do a lot of work to it. You're going to go over here, you might change this to blue. Oh, sorry, of course, forgot to deselect this. Change this to blue. You're going to do your other ellipse here. Let's say I did a whole lot of work. I did this. I'm going to bring this, pick this up and move it and bring it into the right spot. And this is not going to look like a proper eye, so please excuse me. I'm going to do the pupil. This is reversed, obviously. So let's say you went as far as doing this. You've got this whole eye, you have eyelashes, you have an eyelid. You want to be able to pick this up and move it onto the right place of the snowman, or in the case of your upcoming assignment, it will be your face. You want to make sure that this moves as a unit. So you're going to draw a marquee selection around it, and you are going to object group, so that now I can pick this up and move it around like a group. Before I grouped it, if I picked, let's do object ungroup. Without grouping it, you can see if I want to move it and I pick it up, I'm just actually picking up specific parts, and I've ruined all the work that I've just done. So we're going to delete this eye. Okay, here we are. We're on page 71. So I want you to view fit all in window. And that's the part we're at here. You're going to select scarf, and yours will still be selected. I had to do some editing here, so I'm going to select my scarf here, and I'm going to object group, and then you're going to click off to deselect the scarf. Then you're going to, just for demonstrations purposes, have the selection tool. If you try and click on any one of these individual parts of the scarf, you'll notice the entire scarf is selected, and that's because we've grouped this now as a selection. So we're going to drag this over so that it's approximately centered on the snowman's head. If you want to quickly nudge it to the left or to the right with it selected, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard. You can go up, you can go down, and sometimes that's useful to just get it a little bit more to the left or right, and where the mouse might make too big of a move. Okay, click off to deselect. Now we're on the bottom of page 71, editing groups in isolation mode. In isolation mode, isolates groups or sublayers, so you can easily select and edit specific objects or parts of objects without having to ungroup the whole thing. So when you're in isolation mode, all of the objects outside of the isolated group are locked and dimmed, so they aren't affected. And I've noticed already that a lot of you accidentally get into isolation mode and you don't know what to do. So follow along carefully here. So with the selection tool, we're going to select the snowman's hat. Oh, we just want his hat. There we are. And you'll see that it selects the whole group of shapes here. And we're going to double click a shape in the hat to enter isolation mode. So if I double click there, you'll notice it's just the hat that's selected the rest of the composition is dimmed out, so that's how you know. And it also says up here, layer 1 group, and there's this gray bar. Those are the indicators that you are in isolation mode. So if you click to select the red shape in the hat again, now you'll notice that I can just select this portion of the hat, even though the whole hat has already been grouped together. But because we're in isolation mode, I can just select this portion without having to ungroup the whole thing. And while this hat is only made up of a few parts, you can imagine if you had a really complex shape and you decided you wanted to go back and change the eye color of your eye or whatever it may be, you don't want to have to ungroup the entire thing. So isolation mode is really helpful. I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to choose a green color. Don't worry too much about which green color. So now I was able to edit just that portion of the hat. So when you enter isolation mode, as you can see here, your groups are temporarily ungrouped, allowing me to edit just this portion of the hat, which is part of a larger group. Now I'm going to double click outside of the shapes, and you'll notice I get back to my regular GPU preview. So if you accidentally get into isolation mode, or you're not sure what's happening, and around here it's kind of dimmed, or outside of the area that you've clicked it's dimmed, and you notice the big gray bar up here, double click outside of, or double click on your image outside of the area that's highlighted or looking normal, and you will get out of isolation mode. Okay, now we're going to try to click, and you'll notice if I try to click back to that same spot that we were able to temporarily access in isolation, now it regroups the entire hat. We are going to skip over the section on page 72 called creating a nested group. I just don't think you're going to use that very much, and I think it's just maybe too much information. So right now we're going to move on to page 73, exploring object arrangement. So as you create objects, Illustrator stacks them in order on the artboards, beginning with the first object created. And this is something we reviewed in the interface tutorial, where we had our rectangles. We drew 3 rectangles. Hold down Option so I can get my double arrow and make a copy, and then hold down and make my copy. And I'm going to make this one a different color. Let's make this red. This is sort of a review of what we did before. This one we're going to make blue. And then, so now you see you have 3 different rectangles here. You'll notice that the first one I made was the very back one, the green one. Then we copied that to make the blue one, and copied that to make the red one. And you'll notice that that is the order. The most recent one we made is at the top here. So that's what we're looking at right now. So you can change the stacking order, as we reviewed before. You can change the stacking order, and this is the stacking order. So if I wanted to make my red one go behind my blue one, I could physically pick it up and move it to the place I wanted in the stacking order, and you can see that that's reflected here. Now the blue one's on top and the red one's below that, and the green one is below those. So you can certainly manipulate it, but you have to keep your stacking order in mind. So now we're gonna look at that with regard to the snowman under the section called arranging objects. So we're going to view outline, and again, then you can see everything here. Now you can see the portions of the scarf that were behind the body of the snowman. So that's another reason why outline mode is handy. You can see things that are hidden behind other things. And we're going to drag a marquee. So you have your selection tool. You're going to drag a marquee up here. Now this happened to me before, so I'm going to click Shift and click on the arm to get rid of that as part of my selection. So you just want these 3 sections. We're going to go View, GPU Preview, and you can see I still have the snowman's body. So I'm going to shift click the snowman's body as well, so I can remove that from my selection. And now you can see you've got just the scarf. And I want you to, with that selected, click Object, Arrange, bring all the way to the front. Bring to front is bring all the way to the front. Bring forward just brings the object forward one layer at one stack at one place in the stacking order at a time. Okay, now we're on page 74, selecting objects behind. When you stack objects on top of each other, sometimes it becomes difficult to select objects that are underneath. So in this section, you're going to learn how to select an object through a stack of objects. So I want you to click one of these blue circles and drag it on top of the eye, the white eye of the snowman, so you can see it, but it doesn't actually show the color because it went behind the eye ellipse, because the blue circle was created before the eye ellipse. So if we go here and we go under panel options, we can go to large thumbnails and grab the double arrow, pull this down, and if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see that these eye pupils were created before the outline of the eye. So that's why it went right behind this eye when I pulled it over. Okay, so now with this pupil selected, you're going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, there's our eye again. And now we're going to look at a different way to do this. So you're going to go and bring this eye over here. Notice the smart guides show us that our eye is aligned. The blue portion of the eye is aligned with the other blue portion of the eye. Okay, and you'll notice again, and we're going to deselect it, and if I deselect it, it totally disappears behind this portion of the eye. Then we're going to reselect it using another method. So with the position pointed over the location that we know we just put that blue circle, we're going to hold down Command, and we're going to click until the circle appears again, and it will. There we go. Okay, so there's our circle, and it should be blue. I'm going to keep clicking here. Yours should be blue. So I'm just going to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and that should take care of it. But if you just hold Command and click, 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 and then Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, you should be able to see it here. And then File, Save, and we are done lesson 2. Here's our snowman. Good job.